First of all, how's the hand going?
The hand is going all right. I got an MRI on it a couple weeks ago, and there's like just a small fracture, but the big worry was that there's going to be like tendon damage, and there's not. So I got a cortisone shot, and I go back to the doctor in about a week and a half, and if it's doing better, then I'll get cleared to start sparring and boxing again, and if that's the case, I want to start training again. This summer I'll be pretty busy working, but I hope to get back into fight shape and get back in there by the end of this year if my body will hold up.
Now, you were getting ready for your pro debut. You know, the last time you were going in, but then got injured. Your shoulder got injured. You know, obviously that's the plan, just to go ahead and do your pro debut a little bit later this year.
That would be amazing. I'm trying not to get too invested in it, just because I don't want to get too bummed out. But I'm just going to kind of go with it, and like I said, if my body cooperates, then yeah, that would be amazing.
Well, I mean, this has been a very eventful year, especially for the atom weights. I mean, we're seeing a lot of atom weights just come out of the woodwork and really start to make the division up Invicta. I mean, Invicta has a lot of 105ers up there right now. What's kind of your opinion about the 105ers right now?
I think they were always there and they were always training, but they didn't have the opportunity to fight at that weight. A lot of times girls, to get better fights or to fight on bigger stages at that weight class, would go up in weight a lot, and Invicta has done an amazing job of giving a very solid platform to these smaller weight girls. And now that a lot of these girls are fighting at their natural, more appropriate weight, yeah, you're getting to see the talent that I think's been there for a while.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's kind of interesting for you because now, I mean, you have that option. I mean, you can go down to 105 if you wish, and really have some really competitive fights, and you could be world champion at 105, and also in the back of your mind 115, you know, if you ever wanted to go to the UFC. So I mean, what does that mean to you to have that kind of goal behind you right now, that you could probably make that, you know, you can go to 105 or 115?
It's unbelievable. It's like just a year, 2 years ago, you know, when people would interview me about my future and my future plans, you know, the most I could hope for was Strikeforce and then Invicta, and now that I have an opportunity to fight at a weight class that's probably the most appropriate weight class for me, and do so on a big, credible stage like Invicta, or to have the opportunity to fight at 115, which I fought there before, and do so, you know, for the UFC, it's like mind-blowing. I've got a lot of teammates, friends, that are trying out for Tough tomorrow, and I almost have to pinch myself. It's incredible. I knew that I started fighting at a really great time when things were growing, but I had no idea just how fast and how great it was going to grow, and it's just, the sky is the limit, and it's amazing for me to have opportunities and also to see all these other really deserving athletes, female athletes, get the opportunity as well. It's really exciting.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the growth of the sport. I mean, obviously, we're seeing a lot more girls come in. A lot more girls are doing a lot more amateur fights before they're turning pro. I mean, you know, what was kind of, first of all, in your mindset about turning pro? What kind of made you have that decision? And, you know, it seems like there's an advantage to going amateur, obviously. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. A good example is if you take my career and Jessica Panay. Jessica's a really close friend of mine, and she never fought amateur. And she was kind of, you know, someone I looked up to, and when I first met her, we spoke about it, and she said, you know, fight amateur. I wish I had the chance. She's like, I'm, you know, 8 fights into my professional career, and I'm still just figuring out what kind of fighter I even am. And I think at the amateur level, one thing is with female MMA at the amateur level, you're still fighting incredibly talented females. There's not a huge jump in talent, I feel like, from going from amateur to professional, but you can fight without that record that follows you around forever in the back of your mind, and you can take the time to figure out what kind of fighter you are. And yeah, so for me, even though, you know, I started fighting, I was pretty old, I knew it was important, and I'm glad that I did take my time and fought as an amateur. I got to fight for a bunch of different promotions. I got, you know, to get a lot of experience under my belt, and then to go pro, have all that, take that with me. It's you know, it's great. I'm glad I did it, and I think all these girls that are kind of following suit are making the right decision.
And why the decision to turn pro?
I just felt like, I'd proven myself. I felt like, at the level I was at, I was comparable to the girls fighting professionally. And you've heard it before, if you're going to get punched in the face, why not get paid for it, So I was just ready.
Now tell us a little bit about your new gig here over at Fight Life Media. How's it been being able to be an interviewer?
It's been great. A year ago, had a big injury with my shoulder, and I didn't know, if I was going to ever fight again. And being separated from fighting like that was really kind of traumatizing. And it just kind of popped into my head, here's a way that I could kind of, segue from a fighting career, but do something that still involves fighting. I like it because it pushes me out of my comfort zone, kind of like fighting did. But it keeps me involved. It keeps me, I get to work with people that are awesome, and it kind of all fell into place almost serendipitously. And I really like kind of the vibe that I've got with the rest of the Fight Life Media guys, and I love the kind of style of interviewing we do. I love that we pay just as much attention to the amateur fighters as we do the professional fighters. It's fighters first, and it's awesome. It's just giving me something else to kind of focus on and work on and get better on, and it's within fighting, which is great.
And what's probably the most difficult thing about your new role as an interviewer?
Just chilling out, not getting nervous. When I know the person I'm interviewing, it's pretty easy. When you're interviewing someone who speaks well, it's pretty easy. Just getting used to being on camera. It's funny, I've fought in front of thousands of people before, and that's one kind of nervous. And then having a camera stuck in your face with just one guy behind it is another kind of nervous. You just have to get used to it. But I like that it pushes me, and I love that I'm covering the sport that I'm most passionate about.
Favorite interview so far?
That I've done? Well, I got to do an interview with both Kenny Florian and Brian Stan at the MMA Awards, and I felt like I just rocked the interview, but really it's because those guys are so easy to talk to. But it was kind of like my first time, and I was super nervous, and just kind of like coming out alive from that was really thrilling. And then just today I did an interview with Heather Clark, and she's a friend of mine. I'm really excited for her, and she's about to try out for the Ultimate Fighter, and that went really well and was really easy and natural too. So for different reasons, that was a really cool interview also.
What one person would you love to interview?
Oh, there's a million. I've always been a really big fangirl of Gina Carano. I'd love to sit down and chat with her. Ronda Rousey, just basically anyone and everyone. I'm obviously a little biased to the females, but yeah, anyone that's in this pursuit of MMA. There's not really anyone there's definitely no one I don't want to. And luckily, being in Vegas and having fought, I'm not, when I first moved here, I remember I bumped into Stephan Bonner, and I was totally starstruck. And now it's like these people are regular people. I'm still a huge fan of them, but yeah, maybe Gina and Ronda, and then anyone else really would be cool.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you're looking to maybe grow this up, maybe ultimately, probably your dream job would probably be being a commentator for the UFC, if not fighting, huh?
Oh, for sure, of course. Yeah, I want Joe Rogan's job.
Okay, anything else you want to add?
No, thanks for taking the time to interview me, and it was good to finally meet you in person.
Well, good to meet you too. I'll talk to you.